that will give a hint. Have you ever met someone and you're in love and you know it doesn't matter where you go, what you do, you just have to be with that person?
Dolores Hart was a young actress with a face people said belonged on magazine covers. Born Dolores Hicks on October 20th, 1938 in Chicago, she grew up between two different worlds. Her father, Bert Hicks, worked in theater and opened backstage doors to a life that glittered. Her mother and devout Catholic grandparents gave her steady faith and quiet values. Those two forces, one of lights and applause, the other of prayer and simplicity, pulled at Dolores throughout her life and helped shape a choice that surprised everyone who admired her work. Hollywood found Dolores before she fully found herself. After finishing school, she went to Marymount College and slowly picked up small parts. Producers saw something in her that the public would later call grace. A name change, a new image, and brighter lights on auditions followed. Under the careful eye of studio handlers, Dolores became the figure that sat on theater marquees and gossip columns. She moved through films with a calm, sincere presence that made critics nod and audiences take notice. Comparisons to other famous beauties arrived fast. People called her another Grace Kelly, not only for her looks, but for a poise that made still photographs seem like moving paintings. Her big moment came when she worked with a young performer named Elvis Presley. In 1957, she starred opposite him in Loving You, his first color film. On screen, she played a sweet, steady woman who believed in the raw talent of the man beside her. Their scenes together had a quiet warmth, and one small moment became larger than either of them expected. Dolores Hart was the first actress to kiss Elvis on film. To her, it was simply acting, a step in the story. To the world, it was a cultural moment, a snapshot people replayed in their minds and magazines printed in bold type. Off camera, she and Elvis formed a gentle friendship. They read between takes and sometimes shared quiet conversations, even discussing the Bible. Later, they worked together again in King Creole in 1958, another role that let her hold her own, opposite a star whose fame would keep rising. Dolores was not content to be only the pretty, forgiving type the studios loved to cast. She chose parts that showed a wider ability. In Wild as the Wind, she stood beside stars like Anna Magnani and Anthony Quinn and proved she could match the heft of great acting. In Lonely Hearts, she stepped into a darker, more troubled character and showed a raw vulnerability that critics respected. Where the Boys Are, a 1960 film about young people and the search for love, made her a voice for her generation. The movie was a hit, and it widened her reach. People liked her face and her talent together. She even earned recognition on Broadway, getting a Tony nomination in 1959. On paper, her life looked complete: success, praise, and a bright future. Still, an ache lived inside Dolores. The applause and the contracts filled her days, but left a hollow place where peace should have been. Hollywood, with its exacting lights and managed images, began to feel like a machine that polished everyone into roles they did not always choose. Every outfit, every public smile, every companion for the cameras started to feel like someone else was making her life for her. The show business rhythm, filming, interviews, and parties filled her time but not her heart. Deeper questions kept rising. What is this for? What is the real purpose of life? Were her days meant to be spent under bright bulbs and in carefully staged moments, or did something quieter call her? A turning point arrived during a film she shot in Rome. Dolores had been cast as Saint Clare of Assisi, the woman who left wealth to live a life of poverty and service. Stepping into that character felt different. It was not just a part to play, it opened a doorway. While filming, she met a pope who, in a simple sentence, seemed to name what she already felt inside. "You are Claire." Those words landed like a pebble dropped into still water, and the ripples reached far. Portraying a woman who had chosen a life of devotion stirred something urgent in her own heart. The work on the film had become more than performance. It had become a mirror. Away from the set, Dolores began to seek silence. A friend suggested she visit a monastery not far from where she lived, the Abbey of Regina Laudis in Connecticut, a place known for its quiet life of prayer and work. At first, she meant to rest, to take a break from the whirl of travel and promotion. The monastery surprised her. The routine there, rising before dawn for vigils, praying many times a day, doing the daily chores, was not glamorous. The nuns milked cows, tended gardens, sewed and kept house. But in that steady, unshowy life, Dolores found a kind of peace she had never known. The silence was not a vacuum, it was a place to hear. The sisters, with little to their name, carried a joy and calm that had nothing to do with bright lights or applause. Every visit to the abbey felt like a small homecoming. Each time she left, she felt a heaviness, as if she were walking away from a place that felt more like the true home of her soul than the stages and sets ever had. Life moved on in both worlds for a while. Dolores fell in love with Don Robinson, an architect with a quiet strength. They were a gentle couple, sincere and admired by those who knew them off camera. For a moment, it seemed a family, a house, children, a settled life might fill the emptiness she carried. She accepted Don's proposal and wore her engagement ring with honest happiness. She continued to film Come Fly With Me in 1963 would be her last movie, and she made plans for a future that looked solid and warm. But the pull of the abbey kept growing inside her. She tried to imagine a life that included both the man she loved and the life of prayer she desired. The choice tightened around her like a hand. Sleepless nights followed. She thought of Don and how much it would hurt him to lose her. She thought of the costumes, the staged smiles, the managers and their ideas, and compared it all with the monastery's daily rhythm of prayer, work, and simplicity. The quiet life began to feel not like a loss, but like an answering, a truth that had been calling her all along. When Dolores spoke with Don, she did not soften the truth with half measures. She told him plainly that she loved him, but felt a call she could no longer ignore. The pain of that moment was sharp for both of them, but his response, quiet, dignified, stayed with her. He did not beg. He did not try to change her mind. Instead, with a kind of nobility that later became part of their story, he accepted what she needed to do and drove her to the monastery gates himself. The image is almost cinematic in a different way. The man who loved her standing at the edge of two worlds and helping her step into the one she had chosen. So, in 1963, at the age of 25, Dolores left Hollywood. Newspapers splashed the news across their front pages. Fans assumed it was a publicity trick. Studio men were bewildered that such a promising young actress could walk away. But her decision was not a stunt. It was a complete change of life. She entered the Abbey of Regina Laudis and began the daily work of becoming part of that community. The jewelry and gowns were set aside. She exchanged designer dresses for simple robes, interviews for vigils, parties for prayer, and the role of star for the role of sister. Those early days in the monastery were not easy. The schedule was strict. Dolores learned to rise in the middle of the night for prayer, to join the community for several prayers each day, and to find dignity in tasks like milking cows and making cheese. The life was communal and humble. Everyone lived similarly under vows that included poverty. But where she had once felt hollow, she began to find a fullness that steadied her. The silence she first tasted on short visits moved from being rare to something ordinary and precious. It became a space to hear, think, and be present. Time passed, and Dolores professed her final vows, taking the name Mother Dolores Hart. People who watched from the outside saw a dramatic story. Those who lived with her knew the everyday truth. She gave herself to a life of prayer and service, and she loved the sisters who were now her family. Her leadership qualities did not go unnoticed. She was trusted with guiding the Abbey, caring for the well-being of the community, and helping shape its future. The same steadiness that had made her a star, sincerity and focus, served her now in a different role. She had moved from performing to serving, from applause to quiet responsibility. Even so, her past did not vanish. Dolores kept a small bridge to the world she had left. She remained a voting member of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, which meant each year she received films to watch and the chance to vote. It was a small but meaningful tie, an acknowledgement that the arts had once been a home for her too. In 2012, she returned to the Oscars, this time in a habit rather than couture, when a documentary about her life, God is the Bigger Elvis, was nominated. The sight of a nun walking a red carpet among movie stars captured the imagination. It told a story about choices, change, and the unlikely paths life can take. Her personal life stayed close in unexpected ways. Don never married and continued to visit her at the Abbey for holidays, Christmas, and Easter for decades. He remained a steady figure in the background of her life, loyal in a way that looked almost like devotion. When he died in 2011, she was at his side. Their relationship became, in a strange and moving fashion, a testament to love that did not require marriage to endure, a deep and lasting friendship shaped by sacrifice and understanding. Over the years, Mother Dolores wrote about her journey. The Ear of the Heart tells the story of the path she chose, the pull of faith, the shock of leaving show business, and the life she discovered in a monastery. The book opens private parts of a life the public once watched and helps readers understand the gravity of her decision. She also worked tirelessly to care for and expand the Abbey so it could continue for future generations. Her days were shaped by prayer, simple labor, and the companionship of the sisters who shared her life. If the world found her choice strange at first, people later came to see Dolores as an example of honest courage. They understood that success, money, and applause do not always equal peace. Her story is a reminder that life can change direction when someone follows a deeper call. She gave up fame not because she lacked success, but because she wanted a life that matched the longing in her heart. The choice required letting go of many things others think define a good life: wealth, public attention, and a steady career. What she gained was a different kind of richness, a sense of belonging, a steady rhythm of prayer, and a community that shared in quiet daily work. Dolores Hart's life, told from the bright stages to the shaded cloisters, is a story about honesty and courage. She left gowns and red carpets not to lose the world she had known, but to follow a life she could not resist. In doing so, she asked the rest of us a quiet question. What would you do if you heard a voice calling you away from what everyone expected? Dolores answered that call with a steady step, and in that answer, she found a home she had been searching for all along.